Hello, I'm Miriam. I am almost 15 years old, and I managed to escape a cult with my friend Rebecca. Rebecca and I went to school together, and as soon as we met, we just clicked. Like me, she was the only other girl that always wore thick tights under her skirt and jumper, no matter how hot it got. We became the best of friends, and it was at school that we gradually started to realize that we were different from the other children in our class. Because our parents said that they were godless and lost. The other kids were allowed to do many things and activities that we weren't, like going to birthday parties, watching sports or a movie, having friends outside of our community, and absolutely no class trips, cell phones, and even dating. In our faith, we were told to believe that on the day of resurrection and we had to face the Creator, only the people from our community would be saved, and everyone else would not because of their sins. One day, Rebecca asked me if I sometimes had doubts about what we had been told about our beliefs. She said, "I don't believe it anymore," and I confessed that I felt the same way. One day, Rebecca said that she'd like to do something with the others sometime, and that she thought Carla seemed really cool. I agreed and said I would so love to go to one of her birthday parties everyone always talks about. But we knew that we would never be allowed to go, and we were sick of it. None of our classmates were sinful just because they were having a party. It didn't feel like they didn't deserve not to be saved. I thought our community was supposed to help people and make their lives better. Not long after, we were surprised when we saw my Aunt Anna in one of the allotment gardens. She had left our community a few years ago, and no one spoke of her or to her anymore. She had been completely cut off. Therefore, we were shocked when we saw her happily gardening. She wasn't scared or worried about who might be around. I said to Rebecca, "If we break the rules, they will ostracize us just like they did to Aunt Anna, even our parents and siblings, and we couldn't do that to them." The next day, we found an envelope hanging on the garden gate with Miri written on it in large letters. Miri was the name my aunt had called me since I was little. I grabbed the envelope and read it. "Dear Miri, I sometimes see you and Rebecca walking by here on your way to school. I don't want to cause you any trouble, and I know that you are not allowed to have any contact with me, but I want you to know that I am always there for you if you want me to be. If you wish, you may use my small garden house anytime you like. I am only here on Fridays and weekends. The key is under the ceramic duck. All the best, your Aunt Anna." We made sure that no one in our families or from our community became suspicious, so we skillfully switched back and forth between our two apartments all the time. Then our families often did not know where we were. This way, we could secretly meet in the garden house where we could be alone and talk openly. At home, we were not even allowed to close our doors when we were together. Our little world seemed to be getting smaller and smaller each day. One day, Aunt Anna had left us a tablet in the garden house and the password Miri. It was so exciting. We would never otherwise have been able to go on the internet without someone watching us. We surfed it for hours as we wanted to see what was being said about our community. We were shocked to learn that it had been classified as a cult. Our classmates had teased us about it in the past, but we had never believed them. We were also surprised to see so many interviews with people who had managed to escape our faith. What runaways said about our community. We found an interview of a young woman who spoke about how she lost her whole family and all her friends when she left her cult at 18. Everyone cut her off, and the preachers and other believers intimidated her by bombarding her with threatening calls and putting things through her letterbox. She was completely alone and had to live on the streets for a while, which made her really depressed. Finally, she had to go to a clinic because of it, and it was only after therapy that she was able to get back on her feet. But now, she was so happy and couldn't imagine living as she did before, despite missing her parents and siblings. Of course, eventually, our parents noticed a change in us, especially during our church services. We could no longer convincingly pretend to believe that the rest of the world was going to hell, while we deserve paradise. We told our parents that we would do better, that we would help each other in our search for our destiny. Well, it was kind of true, but we still felt guilty. And we knew that in our hearts of hearts, we couldn't keep up with the pretense for much longer. When we were in the garden house, we continued to do research and found organizations that help people escape cults. We finally came across such an organization in our city, so we made an appointment. When the time came, at school, we pretended we were sick. This wasn't a complete lie, as we both had butterflies in our stomachs. When we arrived at the organization, a kind woman greeted us. She explained to us how they would help, that we would be given a social worker who would support us throughout. She also recommended a self-help group for us with other cult escapees. It was really weird thinking we'd be called that. She asked us about contacts outside the cult, and of course, there was my Aunt Anna. She was pleased we had support, as some escapees have no one. She said that there was no pressure or hurry, that only we can decide what happens or doesn't happen. So, we agreed to meet again in 14 days. Our parents and others in the community became more and more suspicious. They began to watch us more closely and reminded us about the devil lurking everywhere with temptations. We couldn't take it for much longer. We knew that next, they would forbid us from seeing each other. We asked Aunt Anna to meet us, and the next day, she didn't let us down. The three of us hugged each other tightly. We told her everything and had 1,000 questions about what happened to her after she left the cult. But she only had one question for us. She said, "Do you know how much it hurts when your family acts like you don't exist anymore?" We had been so afraid of that, but we had no choice. We couldn't live a double life anymore. Once they find out, they'll make our lives hell, Rebecca said. Aunt Anna agreed and promised to be there for us. Fortunately, we had the support group. There were other young people going through the same things as us. They gave us lots of tips, like getting a disused cell phone so we could take pictures of family photos. We took our new cell phones and some personal things to the garden house in case things escalated at home. Then, we went to the youth welfare office with our social worker. We asked for help to be allowed to move into a youth residential home as we had nowhere to go. Right after that, the hardest part began. We told our parents that we wanted to move out, and they were furious. And they didn't even give us a chance to explain or put our thoughts forward. They just bombarded us with the beliefs from our community and told us that it was a sin to walk away from it. They refused to let us see each other, and we weren't allowed to go to school. They locked us up for a week. Our parents, the preachers, and other important people from the community talked to us for hours every day. They threatened to banish us and that we'd go to hell. It was a nightmare, and we didn't know what to do. Luckily, our social worker came to our house, worried as we hadn't been in contact. Shortly after that, we had to go to court with our parents. And after a hearing, the judge decided that we could move to the youth home. From that moment on, my father and mother no longer spoke to me, and Rebecca's parents refused to speak to her too. When I started packing my things, my mother said, "I will pray that you repent and find your way back." As I was leaving, I told her that my door was always open, but I never saw her again. Fortunately, there is Aunt Anna, who understood where we were coming from, having been through it herself. So do the people in the support group. Now we were allowed to have friendships with our classmates. Aunt Anna suggested that we be honest with them and tell them about the cult. They responded well and made an effort to get to know us better. I'm already looking forward to my 16th birthday next week. We get to celebrate in the garden shed. My first birthday party in my life. I invited some friends from class, including Carla, and people from the support group. Rebecca and Aunt Anna are coming too, of course. And Carla said that she hopes that Rebecca and I go to her birthday party next year. Consider us there. Thank you for listening to our story. You will find many other exciting stories on this channel. Just subscribe.